Most home service businesses think that they have a lead problem, but they don't. Most book about 10% of their leads into jobs. The best book closer to half. Same leads, same spend. So what are they doing that you're not? Why do good leads go cold? And how do you fix it without spending $1 more on ads? It's not more leads or better leads. It's not even speed to lead. That's just the start. All the money being left on the table is in what's after that first text and first call. I'll show you the exact cadence, text by text, including the one voicemail move that turns cold leads into a real conversation. Get it right, and you go from booking 10% of your leads to nearly half. If you're new here, my name is Trevor Rea. I've scaled 2 of my own service businesses past 7 figures and helped hundreds of others do the same, generating 9 figures from paid ads since 2016. On this channel, I hand you the playbook of what's working in real time, step by step, nothing held back. If you want more customers without the guesswork, hit the subscribe button now. Let's get into today's video. It's not about having more leads, and it's really not even about having better leads. More leads and better leads are not going to fix the real issue that we're talking about in this video. The bottleneck is the process that the leads are already coming in. Let me explain. Every single time you let a lead leak at any point in your funnel, you're paying twice or 3 times or 4 times because you've already paid for that lead. And effectively, to go get more to make up for these inefficiencies, you're just paying twice. It's not the lead. The slow first reply, 1 sentence in the silence is where your job is dying. Again, not the lead, not the quality. And I promise I've got other videos that explain that. When I say it's not the lead, what I mean is the lead is not what's killing the funnel. It's the slow first reply. The fact that it's only one text, or that it's an automated sequence and nothing else and there's no intelligence to it, or there's silence. That is where the jobs are going and dying. Fix this process and the leads you already have will become the cheapest jobs you book. And I'll give you an example inside of our agency. For a lot of our customers, we won't even run new ads for 2 or 3 months because we simply don't need to. What you're going to learn in this video, we'll just do for them, and they'll think we're pulling jobs out of thin air, but it's the fact that they're just not doing these things properly. Now, what this video isn't, because you're going to hear so many people on the internet talk about speed to lead, and speed to lead is important, but I'm going to assume in this video that you already understand that. And what speed to lead is that fast first response. This is where a lot of times the money is made. If you don't have speed to lead, a lot of what I'm going to talk about is irrelevant. Consider that almost the prerequisite. But what everybody misses is what comes after speed to lead, the cadence that actually books you the jobs. Then once we talk about that cadence, we're going to systemize and automate it so that it runs without you, the owner. One more quick piece of housekeeping. A lead is not a lead. What do I mean by that? A lead does not always equal a lead. There are so many different types of lead, and each lead is more valuable than the next. We've got Facebook form fills, we've got Google LSA, we've got website applications. It occurs on a spectrum. On this side, you're going to have super low intent. They've maybe given you a little, for example, let's say you've just collected their first name and their email, and it's on a Facebook instant form, so they didn't even leave Facebook. That is probably the lowest intent you can possibly have. On the other side, maybe you've gotten them onto a website, then they have to fill out an application, and on that application, you ask for their social security and their dog's last name when they were a child. See how this is just one big spectrum of how much friction we are asking for. The key to understand here is that it's not binary. It's not, is there friction, is there not? It's that it occurs on a spectrum. So we've talked about the lowest intent, we've talked about the higher intent, and then there's the highest intent. All of these have their place within a funnel, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page. So we've got the lowest intent, the Facebook instant forms, that kind of medium intent, your Google search ads and LSAs. Then you've got your highest intent where somebody's filled out 15 questions on an application and has already scheduled an appointment. All of these have their place in the funnel. Just want to make sure that when we say a lead, it can mean a lot of different things. And for the sake of this video, I think you can pretty much assume we're talking about something right in that higher intent range, something like a Google search or a Google LSA. But here's the fun part. Follow-up always beats intent. It's kind of like, I had this coach in high school that used to say to me something I loved. He said, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. We'll have clients that'll have the highest intent leads in the world, but if they're not following up, it doesn't matter. And that's why we, in our agency, do all the follow-up, because I just don't want to count on anybody else to do it. But if you're getting leads and you're not following up with them, it almost doesn't even matter how good the lead is, because they're not going to just hand you money with zero follow-up. The lever that is fully yours is controlling when and how quickly you show up. You can't always control lead quality. There's levers you can do to impact it, but you do control how you follow up. I would always rather see somebody work hard on a okay lead than somebody get a bunch of great leads and give no effort following up. Now, before we get into the meat in this, one quick thing. If you're new here and you like content like this, make sure you subscribe. We do breakdowns of what's working in the market every single day. So here's the fix. First, reply now, no matter what. Every single lead that comes in costs you money. You should not let that go to waste. So there should be a reply that goes out no matter what. No waiting, no exceptions. Speed takes the job, especially in the home services space. Somebody's looking for something and they're generally looking for it now. They're not going to wait around because you had 3 more reviews than the other guy and say, hey, I'll give him 3 hours to reply. Speed is king. First reply always wins. And this says not within hours. Honestly, not even within 30 minutes. I want to see you replying within 2 to 3 minutes minimum. And we're going to talk about how you can do that a little bit later in this video. So here's the cadence, because one text to follow up is not enough. Speed is where lately I've seen a lot of people get excited and they stop. And it's where they break down. They do one text, they do one call, one follow-up, and then they throw their hands up and they say, oh, the lead wasn't good. They didn't just turn around and bend over and say, take my money. They're a busy person. They probably saw something. They're interested. Now it's your job to go get them. Silence is a no. One and done is never enough. A reply often comes on touch 3, touch 4, touch 5, and I think I have some statistics layered in on that later in this video. So here is the exact cadence to follow for your text. Step by step, exactly how you should be doing this for home service businesses. This is going to be your first week. The text, call, warm voicemail drop, put a face to a name, exactly what you should be doing for all of your warm inbound leads. It's all going to be within local hours. So whatever, if you're in Central Time, you want these to run between probably 8 a.m., 7 p.m. This is exactly what you do. So minute 0, literally minute 0. Text them, then call them. So they should get an instant text. And the key is put your name in the text. So we always, in our text, say, hey, it's Trevor. Then the next text, saw you opted in for this, whatever the context is. And the reason why we do this is because if somebody has an iPhone, what's going to say is instead of spam or potentially fraud or just a random phone number, it's going to say maybe Trevor. And now all of a sudden their phone thinks, oh, yeah, maybe I know this guy. And when they read it, they think, oh, yeah, I might know this guy. So text them and then call them immediately. Then after we've done that, 1 hour later, we're going to send them a voicemail drop and a text. So you're going to do a pre-recorded voicemail drop, something that just says, hey, you opted in for this. I'm just making sure you got it. You want it to be very friendly, the exact opposite of pushy. This does 2 things for us. Almost everybody listens to these. In fact, at one point we were tracking this with one of our customers, and 87.5% of people that got a voicemail drop actually listened to it because we had tracking on it. And when you do this, then all of the other automations that come after this, they look at it through a different lens, because if you can nail this voicemail drop where it's a very friendly, hey, just here to help type energy. I'm your local friendly neighborhood plumber and saw you opted into this. I'm just here to help you and support you and do its best. If you can give them that energy, it buys you a lot more leeway to have aggressive follow-up after that. Then, if after 4 hours there hasn't been a reply yet, we always hit them with, is this Steve? Just want to make sure I have the right number for you. Because from this point forward, every outbound message that we send to them, the only goal is to get them to reply. We're just trying to get them to engage back and almost like re-inbound themselves. Hey, is this Steve? Just want to make sure I have that right number for you. Then we want to do some type of loop opener text. Never like I'm just checking in. There's zero urgency to that. So some type of question that you can ask that earns a reply. For example, if I'm a roofer and on their questionnaire they put that they were looking to replace the roof, I might ask a simple question about their current roof, like how many years has that roof been on your house? Or do you currently have insurance for your roof? Just you want to ask them some type of simple question that evokes a response. Again, not trying to create sales pressure, trying to create a conversation. Then day 3, one more text. Day 6, one more text. Then day 3, one more text. Day 6, one more text. And that one more text we'll put here is always I'm closing this out text. Say, hey, I'm just closing this out. It sounds like you probably don't need this anymore, so I'm going to close this out. And what that does is it creates a little bit of urgency. Like, he's not going to just pester me forever. If I need this, I need to act now. Then typically what we do, we wait a week, then we'll put them in a longer term nurture sequence. Now, a natural question after this is, Trevor, how many times can I reach out to somebody in a short amount of time? And the limit is so much higher than it feels. The answer to that question is reach out as much as you possibly can without ever hurting your reputation. And that line sits farther than most owners feel like it does, because for every 100 people you reach out to, even if it's the first time you're reaching out, you get the F you get the don't call me. And that's just because 2 out of every 100 people suck no matter what you do. You could try to start a law that creates a second Mother's Day and they're going to be mad about it. So you don't want that noise to become signal. The fear is, I don't want to bother people. So a lot of owners that I talk to, they stop after 1 or 2 touch points because they assume somebody cares. But in reality, resistance, that kind of baseline, not the I hope your cat falls out of a tree or something. The reality is that baseline resistance is just autopilot. If somebody calls me right now, I'm going to answer and say, hello, why are you calling? And the second they remind me and say, hey, you know what? It's Trevor from Grow Profit Ads. I just saw you opted in. I just want to make sure you got the resource that you literally just signed up for. Oh, yeah, got it. Yeah, here's why I was looking for that. ... So the resistance is the autopilot. Don't be afraid of that. Now, in the booking, there's actually two goals within it. And the first one is simply just to get a reply. Within a funnel, you're always selling something. But what a lot of people miss is you're not selling your product until the very end, or your service, or whatever it may be. You're only ever selling whatever the next step is. So when we were sending these texts, we're not selling our product. We're not even selling an appointment. That's why I would never just cold send a calendar link. What we're doing is we're selling them on the opportunity to reply to us. It just starts with a thread. One response breaks that ice. It opens a dead conversation. We want to ask, get good questions, not the, hey, I'm just checking in. We want to engage them. We want to get them to respond back. And we never, ever want to just go with pitches and offers that are cold, unless it's the greatest offer of all time. If you've got beachfront property for $2, make the offer. But for everybody else, try to get them to respond, then sell them the next step in the funnel. Once you've done that, the next step in the funnel naturally is get them on an appointment. So get them a reply, go back and forth, build a little bit of trust. I'm talking about 3 very standard questions. Book them on a call. You do it too soon, nothing's going to happen. You got to earn that next step. Reply, gather a little, talk, book. Otherwise, it's so jarring. When you go straight for the when can we meet? Here's my calendar link. Even if they need whatever it is you're selling, it feels out of context. It doesn't feel right. Even working in marketing and sales in this space, when somebody does it to me, I'm like, it feels too soon. It's like when you take somebody out to date and then try to take them home on the first date. That wasn't my style because it just didn't feel natural. Then it doesn't end because no usually just means not yet. So we need to play the long game. Most who don't book right now in your funnel, they aren't gone. We're just early, right? A clear no can honestly even be better than silence because that means there's some type of intent. And they need whatever they opted in for. If you are a home service business, they are probably going to need it again because you might be a recurring service like pool cleaning. Guess what? Pool's clean today. It's going to be dirty again. Maybe you do roof restoration. Roof gets restored. It's going to be restored again. Shoot, even if somebody gets a roof replaced, they might sell that house. 3 years later, they need another roof. Or they don't sell the house and then they need another roof. They're going to need you again. You are just early. And yes, sometimes it is longer timelines like that depending on your sales cycle. Sometimes it's just a today thing and they're ready tomorrow. But you're early. You're not done. So don't give up. The intent is there. They opted in for a reason. The needs always come back. Now here's where this gets fun because we've talked about the fact that one message isn't enough. We've talked about the exact messages that we should be putting out there. Now, how do we do this at scale? Because if you're an owner operator doing a business that's, I'd say probably over $500,000 a year, maybe over $1 million a year, it's not like you're sitting on your phone just texting everybody. Now we need to make this run on its own. And the example I love to give for this is what happens when you're on the roof and a lead comes in, or what happens when you're managing the guy on the roof and the lead comes in. You're hands deep in your work. First, shameless plug, just link in the description. There's probably a solution we have for you where you can pay less than a couple $100s a month for us to manage this. But you can also look into how you can do this yourself. So the problem here is not just limited to, hey, my team's doing jobs, we don't have an answer. But maybe you have somebody whose only job is to answer phones right away. But then maybe they're not doing a great job of keeping track of their touches and they answer the phones. They're really good at collecting and they're good at playing defense, but you're not actually out playing offense and following up in a systematic way. So what happens is these really good leads die by default because there wasn't a system there to catch it. So before we go and automate this, there's actually an entire step before it, and it's systemizing it. All right, we need to build that system because once that system exists, then we can go automate it. So it's 2 very simple but distinct layers. Once those layers exist, then we can build the intelligence on top. So let's look at it. Step 1, make the system. All right, it's just the cadence written down, run every single time. Lead comes in, call right away, text right away. Voicemail drop 3 hours later. A few more hours later, we hit them with a text. Text them the next day, text them a few days later, long-term nurture sequence. So that's your system. Step 2, if this, then that. So not quite AI level intelligence, but some type of process that fires. So for example, lead comes in. Maybe you have a lead form from Facebook, and then that triggers inside of your CRM to text them right away. And then there's a wait, and if they haven't replied yet, it sends them a voicemail drop. And then there's a wait, and if they don't reply to that, it then sends them another text. So we make the system in step 1, step 2, we make the rules, and we start to systematize it. I guess technically that's automating it, but in my mind, that's not like a true automation. So in step 1, we start to make the system. Step 2, we make the rules where we automate it. Step 3 is where now this really gets fun. We make it smart, and then we actually enrich it. So these replies adapt to what they actually say. So as you're building out more automations and eventually intelligence, you want to take it step by step. If you are a brand new business, putting in full-blown AI automation into this to run it is the wrong move, and I'm going to show you why. So step 1 is literally call comes in, you handle it, you get some reps on the board. That's going to allow you to build a little bit of data within it so it knows what a good reply looks like, because no automation is just going to magically work on its own. Then phase 1 of systematizing it is having all these outbound flows that the only goal is to get them to reply. Once they do reply, a human takes over the conversation. Then the next phase is auto running the conversation, where system goes out, pushes outbound. When they reply, some type of intelligence back and forth, but then a human takes the appointment. So it books it for a human. Phase 3, auto books the appointment, human just shows up to the job. Right? So a lot of times we'll see this with detailing businesses. It's a killer business for this, where it'll just go back and forth, book the job, then the guy or the tech or the person washing just has to show up and do the job. And then here's the key. The work always stays human. It's why I love home service businesses, because we're realistically probably not in my lifetime going to see this end to end from generating a lead all the way to some type of robot doing the job. So if you have a home service business, pretty safe. I think these are going to be some of the safest businesses in the next 20 to 30 years minimum. So what does this look like when it's running? What is the benefit you stand to gain? We've seen people go from 10% to nearly half. What does that mean? Out of 100 leads, most businesses book around 10, and they're letting 90 of them die, right? Nothing's happening. They paid for that lead. They get nothing back. So if I have a $30 cost per lead, that means it's taking 10 leads for them to book a job. So their cost per job is about $300. You take that 30 times 10. So $30 cost per lead. And because they're only getting 1 out of every 10 of those to convert, it's costing them $300. Yeah, if you have a roofing job, that's great. If you're doing detailing, you're actually losing money. You're paying them to do their job. So now let's break down how this system creates more efficiency within this. So when you book right away, easy ones close themselves today. All right, couple of texts, you gain another 10%. So this first 10 to 10% is the ones where it's like it's a low-hanging fruit. They did it on their own. They just had a crazy amount of intent. This next 10%, yeah, a couple of texts back and forth, but it's immediate. And it's not just one text, here's the link, I hope it works. You're willing to do a little bit of appointment setting. That basic follow-up, you gain another 10%, so that puts you at 20. Full system, cadence, booking, nurture over time, reactivation, that's gonna give you 20 to 30% increase. 4 to 5 times the bottom line when you do this end-to-end with the intelligence baked on. So if now instead of getting 10% of your leads, you're getting 5 out of every 10, shoot, now it's only costing you $60 to acquire a customer. And now even if you've got something that's lower ticket, like a detailing, and I keep using that, or a pressure washing, it doesn't really matter what you're doing if you've got a $60 cost per appointment. Even if you're doing a front end, back end play, you can 5x your gross revenue with no extra leads, with no extra ad spend. So where do you start? Don't automate this first. We want to start with writing down the cadence, literally writing down what are the texts I want to send, what's the cadence I want to do, and then go run it. In fact, I would even do it as a human, even if it's just a day. Go get some reps. Then start with the instant reply. Lead comes in, automatic text goes out. Then automate once it works by hand. What does that look like? Okay, first, instant reply. This is the single highest leverage. At one point, we were tracking speed to lead across all of our agency clients. Now we handle most of their follow-ups, so it becomes irrelevant because our speed to lead is practically just 0. But when we were tracking it for them, we realized that I assumed they were probably getting their leads within 5 minutes. It was an hour and 35 minutes. So then when we got it down to 6 minutes, I thought that was great. But the gap from an hour and 35 minutes and getting down to 6 was nowhere near how impactful the gap was from going from 6 minutes to under 20 seconds. I wish I had this data in front of me. I should have pulled it for you guys. But the gap from 6 minutes getting that under 20 seconds was probably 3x the gap from speed to lead of an hour and 35 minutes down to 5 or 6 minutes. That big of a difference. Okay, then once you've got that instantaneous reply, run the cadence. Do it by hand if you need to, but just do it the same way every time. These conversations, the flow is the same, right? Lead comes in, ask some questions, get a reply, go back and forth, figure out what the pain is, boom. Once you've got enough data on that, it's very easy to hand this to some type of intelligence layer and have it go back and forth. All right, so to close this out, it was never a lead problem. More leads, better leads, they're not going to fix a broken follow-up system. The process for leads already coming in is the whole lever. In fact, you don't even need more ads. And I'm an ads guy. Take your existing database, run this system. It works. Go do it. Reply to every lead immediately. But then, after you reply to immediately, reply forever. If this helps, which I hope it did, subscribe for more. Make sure to like this video. I do more step-by-steps. I love helping home services. Please subscribe if this helps. Otherwise, watch another video. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.